Listen to the vibes.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. Very happy to welcome Greg Mohr here, who is an author and the CEO of Franchise Maven. Did I get that correct?
Yes, you did, Kyle. Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, what I do is I help aspiring entrepreneurs and seasoned entrepreneurs get into the field of franchising on that. So it doesn't matter whether you want to do it full-time or part-time, many different franchises out there. I help you make it a lot easier to narrow down business opportunities, particularly in franchising, that may be of interest to you, mostly through education on that. I don't try and push it on anybody that franchising is the greatest thing since sliced bread, because for some people it's not. So we get as much information as we can out to you. I help you narrow the field down. I come up with opportunities for you, get to know you on that, and walk you through the process of how to investigate each and every franchise.
This is a subject I've never touched on before, and I'm really curious because I've actually thought about that at one time. Are we talking like McDonald's and Wendy's and that kind of thing, or what kind of franchises are we talking about?
Great question. Great question, Kyle. Most of my people that come to me, don't know too much about the entire world of franchising. So, Kyle, when you and I are driving around, that's the sort of thing we see. We see the brick and mortar franchises out there, the ones that are common to everybody. Meineke, Mako, Supercuts, Great Clips, McDonald's, Taco Bell. Those are all the brick and mortar. Basically, you build it and they will come. General theme on that one. And they're a little bit larger of an investment on those, generally around $400,000 or $500,000 on up. What people don't realize a lot of the times is that there's the service industry franchises, and that's where your clients don't necessarily know you exist until they need you. So a good franchise system will drive people to you when that need arises. So we're talking things like senior care, taking care of mom and dad in their home, making sure they don't have to go to an assisted living facility on that. Tutoring, it's always a huge one as well. Home services franchise, take the Neighborly Group, the largest home services company in the United States, with about 20 different franchises, anywhere from lawn care, maid service, electrical, plumbing, restoration services. So sign companies, many different franchises out there in the service industry, and the total investment's right around $150,000, give or take. And again, semi-absentee or full-time, your choice.
What would be the first step as far as figuring out what would be your best fit?
What we will do together, and if you're going to do this yourself, you don't necessarily need to come to me. My services are free if you decide to come to me, but if you don't, some of the things to think about as you're going through the process is, where have you been? So what do I mean by that is, what skill set do you bring to the table, and what franchises are looking for people with your skill set? Say, for instance, you're looking at a Sandler sales training franchise. Well, if you've never done sales in your entire life, that's probably not going to be a good fit on that one. So you want to make certain that whatever makes those franchisees successful in this system, you have that skill set on there as well. Then the other thing to look at on that one is, where are you at now? So where are you at now? What kind of time do you have to invest? Are you willing to invest? And what kind of money are you comfortable investing in a franchise? Each franchise is going to have requirements for your net worth and for your liquid cash. So you want to make certain that you meet those requirements on those franchises. Nobody wants you to run out of money, and most of the good franchises, or all the good franchises on there, will take a look and ask you about your net worth. And if you don't have it, they won't offer a franchise to you on that one. And then look at, where do you want to be years from now? What are you looking for a franchise to do for you? Are you looking to basically buy a job? So you just want to do something yourself. You don't want to work with employees. So which franchises have that opportunity where you could use your skill set and you can do it yourself and just keep yourself busy, make the kind of money you want, make your own schedule? Or you're looking for something where you have some employees, where you have a manager, where people will actually do the work for you, and you just oversee operations on that. So maybe something semi-absentee, 10 to 15 hours a week. And then you look at the different things, like what kind of industries are you comfortable with? Most people I work with don't know what they want specifically, but they know what they don't want on that one. So that really helps me narrow the field down for them. But if you're doing it yourself, certain things to think about on there is, where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself in a, small office setting, a working from home setting? Would you prefer a retail type establishment on that? So those are the things to think about as you're going through the process of investigating franchises.
My thing is I suppose I was going to come into some money and I want my money to grow. I don't want to just, get a bunch of cash and go out and buy cars and houses and all that kind of garbage. I know a lot of people that do that. Um, I had a friend back in school, and I'm not sure if this is entirely true, but I heard that once he had went into the NFL, he'd made all that money. He wanted to make sure he was still making money, and he bought a McDonald's franchise. And now I think he makes sports equipment or something along that line. And it's like, well, what should I do? And I'm not sure if I'm even a good fit for doing a franchise, but I do want my money to work for me.
Kyle, it's always great to have options. Franchise is just one of the different options out there. You can get into private business as well. You can compare and contrast. There's good points and bad points. But if you're looking to have your money work for you, there's, a few different things. Stock market's always one, if you like that way. But if you really like having and owning a business, franchise is a really easy way to get into it because you've got that playbook on there. So you're never wondering or guessing, what do I do next? And there's many different franchises where you don't have to work them full time, where you manage the manager, you manage the profit and loss statements. If you don't like managing profit and loss statements, hire a CPA to do that for you. You got it made. So then you're just working with the manager. Let the manager do it. Anytime you're getting into any kind of business, whether it be a privately owned business or a franchise, either one, you really don't want that business to revolve around you, unless that's specifically what you're looking for on that. But you don't want that business to revolve around you, so you can do what you want, when you want, and at the end of the day, if you want to sell it, it's easy to sell because the business doesn't revolve around you. So look for businesses that well, franchises. Some of them allow semi-absentee ownership, some of them don't on that one. So like, if you're going into a Chick-fil-A, you're going to be there all the time, 6 days a week. So that's probably not for you if you want a lot of free time to do the things you want to do. So think about that sort of thing. If you want your money to work for you, and if you want, the money coming in, and at the end of the day, maybe you want to sell it, or you're just good with it running by itself, then look for businesses, especially franchises that can be run semi-absentee. A lot of great franchises, a lot of different industries out there.
But just because you have the money doesn't mean everybody should go out and do this.
No, again, compare and contrast. It's good to have options. Just look at your options. That's what we go through together, investigating your options. What we do together is we figure out, first off, if franchising is right for you to begin with, and then if it is right for you, which franchise would fit your needs, what you're looking to do. Keep yourself busy, full-time job sort of thing and business, or semi-absentee, where you just want to do what you want, but you want your money working for you. That's the things that we'll go through.
Now, you've authored how many books?
I authored one and co-authored 3 others.
Okay, so what are those about?
Those are about entrepreneurship and franchising. The one that I wrote, my Wall Street Journal best-selling book that I wrote myself, is after about 10 years of doing this, I've got a lot of the same questions over and over again. So I thought the best way to get this information out to people is just write a book about it. So mine is a step-by-step process of how to go through, just as we're just talking about, Kyle, what to look for in a franchise, how to investigate franchises, what franchising is all about, real-world examples of the people that I worked with on there. So you get a good view of how I work with people, background information on myself. The final chapter is actually on if you've got a business of your own and want to turn it into a franchise, how you do that as well. But it is a lot of great information on the step-by-step process of, looking through the franchise disclosure documents, what kind of funding is available, having franchise attorneys, what's negotiable, what's not. So all that information that you need to make that informed decision is right there in that book. The other 3 books are about entrepreneurship on that. So they're good ones to look at. If you're thinking about, and you've never gotten into it before, or if you have, and if you're looking at entrepreneurship, good things about that. Always good to get educated on these various things. So there's a lot of other great authors in the books that I co-authored on there. They'll give you a lot of good information about being an entrepreneur and being a business owner as well.
Now, I read a little bit about your history, and you were into like circuits or something like that before.
That's correct. So I actually started my life working at right in high school. I got to work at Taco Bell, and I ended up working, unbeknownst to when I first got on there. But she was a master franchisor for Taco Bell, and she owned about 50 of them. So I got into that and was a restaurant manager there for a couple of years, and then moved on to other restaurants for about 15 years as a restaurant manager, got bored with that, got a degree in electrical engineering and physics. So then I worked for Motorola Semiconductor as microelectronic circuit engineer. Did that for about 15 years. Got a master's degree in business. I bought, me and a friend of mine, another engineer, we bought dry cleaners, storage units, and then I bought some rental properties as well. And while I was getting my master's degree in business, I read Robert Kiyosaki's books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and that about ruined my corporate career for me. And so that was it. Left there. I sold all my shares of everything I had and turned over half the business to my friend, my engineering friend, who also got out of the corporate world at that point in time as well. He took over those private businesses, and then I said, I like that franchising thing with Taco Bell. That was great. That was a lot of fun. I want to do that again. And then that's what got me back into franchising.
Wow. When it comes to getting into franchising, does somebody really need to get a degree like in business in order to start this, or are there people that go just full force without any formal education?
I've got a little bit of everybody in there, Kyle. No education, little education, PhDs, managers, CEOs, vice presidents. It's a big mix. The good thing about the franchise is that they're going to teach you everything you need to know about how to operate that business. And there's plenty of people that if you don't know how to do something, which there are a lot of things I don't know how to do, not only there are some things that I don't know how to do, there's things I do not like doing, like the taxes, like the CPA work. So I can do it as an engineer. I'm great at math. I could do it, but it's just boring to me. I turned over CPA. CPA is just like, I'm excited to do this because that's what they enjoy doing. So no, you don't have to have any kind of a special degree to do it. What the franchises are looking for is you have kind of a background or a skill set that goes with that franchise. And there's many different franchises for many different skill sets. They'll teach you everything you need to know about how to operate that business. They'll start out with QuickBooks, how to run the QuickBooks thing. So you'll get the basic things of how to do that. If you're in a restoration franchise, they'll flood a room and they'll show you how to dry it all out. Now, that doesn't mean that that's what you're going to be doing all day. You can have a general idea of how to do it. You're going to hire somebody else to do that, all that information, all that work for you, because you're working on building the business up. And again, the franchise is going to teach you everything. So no degrees, no special skills are necessary.
Well, let's use me as an example because I want to see how this would work. I've gotten $500,000, and now my background is I've worked in public works most of my life, mainly in the water department, and I was a supervisor in the water department for 13 years. And I wouldn't mind getting into something along the lines of plumbing. And I love supervising, but I'm not much of a business person. What would you recommend?
First of all, what we do, Kyle, is we sit down, and so you've been a supervisor before, so you manage people. So managing people is something you can do. You've already done it. So it doesn't matter which business you're into, managing people is the same in any kind of business. So the things that we take a look at, Kyle, is do you like working with that skilled labor force, the plumbers, the electricians, HVAC people, that sort of thing? Or in your business that you want to run, would non-skilled labor be okay? Say like a restaurant where you're hiring, high school people, students, that sort of thing. Do you prefer skilled, unskilled labor? So that,
Well,
or does it matter?
I think I would rather have skilled workers. Let's say plumbing is, I was a glorified plumber, if you think about it.
Perfect. Then we take a look at how many employees. Do you like working with a lot of employees? Would you prefer a business that has a fewer employees, 2 to 3, 5 to 10? Does that matter?
I would probably want more than 10, but I don't want like hundreds.
Good. So these are the sort of things that we narrow it down on that one. So do you like the services industry, the plumbers, the electricians, HVAC people, restoration?
Oh yeah.
Perfect. So
I
now
actually
we're down,
worked for an air conditioning company for a while too, and a plumbing company.
and that's perfect because a lot of my people are real estate investors where they don't, excuse me, they don't necessarily know anything about that industry because they never worked in that industry, but they've worked with those people before. So they have a general idea of what it's all about on there. So that's what we look at. And then we take a look at, well, what's your risk level? Do you want to get into an emerging franchise that has 5 or 10 franchisees? Or would you prefer something that's a little bit more established with 50 or 100 or more franchisees? Or does it matter?
I really wouldn't know where to start with that one.
Okay.
Probably want something a little more established, though.
So different people are like, or have different ideas on that. With one that's more emerging, you get more involved with the franchisor and you have direct relations with the person that actually created the franchise system themselves. So you can help develop that franchise and move it up. A little bit more of a risk because it hasn't hit that level of 50 or 100 franchisees where they have done it so many times and they've proven it out in so many different cities. Now you've got a lot of franchisees to talk to. So that, it's less risky because they've been able to reproduce it many, many different times. So a give and take on that one. So if you want something, I would say, there's about 5,000 franchises in the US today. Maybe 5% of them made it to 100 franchisees or more. So if you want to reduce your risk level on that one, then you're probably looking for something that has 100 franchisees or more to do it on there. So now we've got the services industry for you. We've got skilled labor force for you. We've got up to 10 employees, but not 100 or anything like that. Something that has many franchisees, 100 or more franchisees on that one. So that's the way that that I get to know you and start narrowing down those opportunities that are there. So now what I can take a look at is this is what Kyle's looking for. This is his background on there. He's got this certain criteria that he wants. And now we've got to look in the Houston area and see what's available in the Houston area, what has open territories with Kyle's criteria in mind. And now I go and I talk to the franchisors all the time, so I know who they're looking for in potential franchisees. So now I can do the matchup between it, saying Kyle's looking for these franchisors are looking for people like Kyle. Do you have open territory around Kyle's zip code, 30 to 60-mile radius? Yes. Then I can start narrowing down, bring back to you 5 or 10 different opportunities. The other thing I look at is what's your net worth requirements. Kyle has a $500,000 net worth. Is that within your requirements on that? And then the only thing, actually, there's many, many different questions beyond that. But this is just kind of narrowing it down for our talk today. And the other thing that we'll take a look at is what is your time commitment on that? Do you want to do this semi-passive, 10 to 15 hours a week, or are you going to jump into this full time?
And see, full time would be a no for me, mainly because I still love doing podcasting. And one thing I would want to know is because I've been retired for about 4 years now, and I've let all my licenses and everything go, and I have no desire to go back and get them back. Is that going to be a prerequisite for getting into it? I may have to be hands off.
No, many different franchises, both in the service industry and brick and mortar, where you can be hands off, where you're just managing the manager, managing the profit and loss statements, 10 to 15 hours a week, semi-passive. So that's one of the other criteria that I come back with. So now I know many different things, number of employees, skilled labor in the Houston area. You've managed people before. You just want to do it semi-passively. So that's where I come in and start using all that to find the franchises that are a good fit for you. And that's some of the things that I can do there. You can't necessarily do yourself or on your own without a lot of legwork on there on that. So if you are do-it-yourselfer, you can get the book, you can go through my book. There's a lot of good information out there that'll help you do it if you know exactly which franchise you want. But if you're not too sure, like Kyle, if you and I were doing it, you're not too sure, for you to go out there and start sifting through the different franchises, trying to find the net worth, who's available in your territory, who's looking for people like you. There's no central repository like there is with real estate of all the different franchises. So that requires a little bit of legwork. If you don't mind doing that, you can, but you don't have to. You can use me for that. But again, if you're a do-it-yourselfer, feel free, go out there and get that done. Just a little bit more legwork on your part to find those franchises.
Gotcha. Well, I want to talk a little bit more about you. This show is mainly about inspiring and motivating people. So what's been the biggest thing you've ever had to overcome in your life?
going from 30 years of the corporate world into running my own business. So the one that I chose was the franchise that I chose working with the franchise consultant was a Schooley Mitchell telecommunications consulting franchise. So in my particular case, after being a restaurant manager for 15 years, and I had about 50 employees that I ran, and then being in the engineering world, I did not want to have anything to do with employees whatsoever. So I wanted to do it all myself. So basically, I invested or bought myself a job, a really good job in my own business. The biggest hurdle is going from that corporate world where you go into that office, you get the whole list of things for you to do for the day. Everybody's, throwing things at you to get done. So, you can just go through, oh, this, got to do this, got to do this, got to do this. Now, here you are. You got your own business to do. The franchise war, he taught me everything I needed to know on that. I didn't need to know anything about the telecommunications business. He taught me everything and how to find people, where to get them, how to talk to them. I just had to do it. So now you're at home and I'm working from home, which is what I wanted. And I've got all these distractions. And so I worked on it for about a month. And then I went back and I looked and said, okay, what am I getting done throughout the day? It doesn't seem like I'm getting too far too fast. And it's because, by noon, by the time I was having lunch, I had worked on the business for like a half an hour. It's like, okay, this is just not going to work on this one. So really, it's that discipline of setting that schedule and saying, this is how many calls I'm going to make. This is how many people I'm going to go do presentations to. I'm going to work on this important marketing thing. I'm going to call this many CPAs so I can get in front of their audience and talk to them. Having that list of things to do, step-by-step schedule for, pretty much I broke it down to like half-hour marks on that so that I could get my progress. And then my key indices in there, I'd say, okay, you got to make, 5 phone calls or go visit 10 different businesses throughout the day just to say hello, take somebody out to lunch. I had to put all those down. That was the biggest challenge from going to that office environment where it's all laid out for you, and now you are responsible by yourself on your own, in my case, for getting these things done to get that business going. That was probably the biggest hurdle is that mindset change.
You have to have some semblance of faith in order to do this.
Yep. That you do.
One thing that I've learned from talking to people that are successful is that part of their success and the motivating factor, I guess, is helping other people. Is that why you got into doing what you do?
It is, Kyle, it is. I've always helped other people, even as an engineer. Back then, I trained other engineers on different software systems, and I always enjoyed doing that. Especially you can see the light turn on in their eyes as they realize, how it's going to help them. And then back when I was a restaurant manager, I was helping people grow and move them up within the organization if they wanted to become managers and help them with that. So when I got into my franchise and I realized, and I finally got the swing of things after about a month and got my systems down, I was just realizing that I could do whatever I want, whenever I wanted to on that. So I thought this is something that not a lot of people know about. And I thought more people need to know that there is an option out there for you where you don't have to do, that 9 to 5 every day. In my case, 7 to 5 every day on that. And I just thought, I've got to get this information out to them because I never knew there was franchises like this that weren't McDonald's that cost $1 million and where had to work full times. And I really enjoy helping people realize their goals and their dreams of getting into a business, especially for those folks who are looking at privately owned businesses and just, not too sure about, doing it all by themselves. And they really like the fact that they have franchises there where you do pay for it. You have the franchise fee, you have the royalties, but it gets you to where you want to be 2 to 3 years quicker than doing it yourself. And you've got the whole team of people, not just the franchisor, but all those franchisees. Everybody helps each other grow. And I just thought that was just an amazing thing on that. I just said, I've got to get out there and I've got to let other people know. So I really enjoy helping them. A lot of my people have become rookies of the year when they first got into their franchises. One guy called me back after 3 years and said, I built this thing up to where I want it to be. Let's get it sold. Let's get me into another franchise on that. And then I've had people that say this thing runs like clockwork. I want to add another franchise to my portfolio. I just love hearing things like that Because these folks have stepped away from some of them have stepped away from their full-time jobs, or eventually stepped away from their full-time jobs and just concentrated on the business itself. So they realized their dream of having time to do what they wanted when they wanted.
This has got to be pretty stressful. How do you deal with the stress?
On this one, what I do, I have, let's see, I have a garden, I have an orchard, I have a lot of critters, and so we grow our own food, and we are trying to be as self-sustaining as possible. So after, usually I'll do maybe 2-3 hours of going to running the business, talking with different people, learning about different things about franchising. I'll step away, take the dogs for a walk. Got 4 dogs, 2 cats. Take the dogs for a walk. Go tend the gardens. Go tend all the critters that we have that are growing out there. Come back, do it for another 2-3 hours, and rinse and repeat on that. And again, as an entrepreneur, you got to get that schedule down. I've got that schedule down. I got it down so much that after, I think it's, let's see, I do it from 8:30 to 10:30 in the morning. At 10:30, if I'm not stepping up away from my desk, the dogs start wandering around on there. They'll sleep from 8:30 to 10:30, but at 10:30, they're up and around saying, "Hey, Dad, it's time to go for a walk." Every morning, 10:30, you go for a walk. Let's do it. So I've got that scheduled down. So that's how I relieve my stress, just going out there, getting out with nature and enjoying myself.
That's our dream, is to have our own garden and basically have a farm where we can just kind of get away off the grid, so to speak.
Yep.
And it's also important to have time with the family.
Yeah, my wife and I do all the gardening and take care of the critters together. We've got quite a few of them, so we're out there quite often tending things.
Yeah, always have to have that balance in life, or it's going to fall apart.
You do. You got to get away. And that's the whole idea behind having a business of your own. So you do have that time to do what you want to do when you want to do it. So in my case, since I'm doing it all myself, if I don't want to take any calls today, I'll just mark it on my calendar, busy, and I'll just take the day and go do it. But then I don't make money. So it's a give and take when you're doing it yourself. Now, if you got somebody else doing it for you, it's a lot easier to do that and just do what you want when you want.
And what is your website?
FranchiseMaven.com. That's franchise, MAV as in Victor, EN.com.
And to talk to you is free, right?
Talk to me is free. My services are free. The franchisors pay me a referral fee if you decide to invest in one of the franchises I introduce you to. So there's never any charge to you for my services.
And what about social media?
LinkedIn is a good way to go. You can get there's a lot of my testimonials I have on LinkedIn. Just go to Gregory K. Mohr on that one. You'll see that. Facebook, franchise_Maven. And same thing with Twitter. And I think I have a little bit on this Instagram too. Franchise Maven on the Facebook, you'll see a little bit of things. If you want to really know about me and what I do, just go to look me up on Facebook, Gregory Mohr, on my personal website, and you'll see a lot of pictures of the critters and of the farm on there as well. So you get to know me that way.
And your book's on Amazon?
My book is on Amazon. Feel free to go out there on Amazon and purchase it. I'd love it if you did. If you don't want to, just go to my website and you can get a PDF version for free.
Oh, nice. Well, I will put all the links in the description just to make it easier for folks. And Greg, this has really been enlightening.
I appreciate you having me, Kyle. Very kind of you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I also want to thank all you folks out there. If you are new to the channel, I hope you'll come back. Please hit that subscribe button. For my regulars, you guys are awesome because you make it possible for me to do this. Until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network